Hello and welcome to the presentation of what's new in XWiki. So at the past OW2Con in 2019, I presented what was new in XWiki 10.x and 11.x. So this time, this is a follow-up, and we're going to see what's new in 12.x and 13.x till 13.4, which was just released a few weeks ago. So I'm Vincent Massol, I'm CTO of XWiki SAS company, but I'm also, and that's what's the most important for this presentation, I'm also a developer on the XWiki open source project. And I'm quite happy to present the new stuff that we did in 2020 and so far in 2021. So let's dive in. So I mentioned versions, so let's go quickly through the release cycle of XWiki. So we have 11 releases every year from January to December, so that's one every month. And then in December we have 2 bug fix releases to stabilize the cycle, and then at the end of the year we call the version an LTS, a stable release basically. And then we do that over and over every year. And this leads us to actually more than 30 releases per year, because in addition to the 13 releases I just mentioned, we also release bug fix versions. So in total that's quite a lot of releases, but we want to do that because we want to give the users the ability to get the latest features very frequently and provide feedback to us. We like to do community-based development and get feedback and then adjust things and improve things as we progress. So for those who don't know XWiki, so this is what it looks like if you download it. So it's a wiki, so you can see the edit button, you can create pages, etc. I'm not going to go into the detail of XWiki because that's not the purpose of this presentation. Just know that it's a way to create content collaboratively. And XWiki is also a generic development platform that you can use to develop any kind of collaborative web application. So it's not just a wiki, but the wiki is what you get if you download XWiki 13.4 or any other version. So let's see what are the main features we developed. So the first one I wanted to highlight, it was developed in 12.x, is the page likes. So we used to have the ability to have ratings where you could rate pages with an extension. You could give stars to pages. But we found that users didn't really like this, and they were more interested in saying whether just simply saying whether they like a page or not. That's much simpler and better for users. So if you look at the page, we now have a little heart symbol at the bottom, and if you click on it, that means you like a page. If you click again, that means you unlike it. And then you can see in the page menu, you can click on likes, and this will lead to a table displaying all the people who like the page you're on. So in this example, there's only one person, but you would see more if more liked it. We also completely reword the rating API. So the like feature is based on the rating API, but the rating API is much more powerful, and you can do any type of ratings with more than one value and with different algorithms. So that was feature number 1. Feature number 2 that we added was also something that was asked for a long time, and that's the concept of user mentions. So this is the ability in any place in the wiki where you have got wiki syntax, wiki markup, you can mention someone. So you can do that in the content of wiki pages, you can do that in the comments area or in other places. And you just have to press the @ symbol, and if you're in WYSIWYG editor, you will get suggestion about all the users. You can start typing the name of the person you want to notify, and you will have autocomplete. And once the person has been notified, they will receive a notification. So by default, notification is on, and they will, in their wiki, they will have the little bell at the top right, which will have a number on it, as you can see on the screenshot. And they will see who mentioned them, on which page, and they will even see the contextual text around the mention. And when they view the page, their mention will be displayed in a different color. On this example here, it's in red, but this is completely configurable. So the next feature we worked on quite a lot this last year was in-place editing. So we use, when we were clicking the edit button, we used to navigate to another page and put wiki in edit mode. It was a different UI, and we wanted something more seamless and more modern. So we wanted the ability for users when they were in view mode, that when they click the edit button, they stay in view mode, they don't navigate away, and they can immediately start modifying the content. So this is what we did, and we had to move some features that were located in the edit view in the panels on the right. We move it elsewhere. We move it to the information tab at the bottom of pages. So there are things like the locale and the different translation that exists for the page, the syntax of the page, whether it's a hidden page or not. These are things that you can now modify in view mode too. So this is much more consistent now and simpler for users. And we modified the application within minutes feature, so that the application you create with it, they're also now inline editable, even for forms. So as you can see on the screenshot, each of the metadata of the form, there is a little pencil button for them. And if you click it, you can change and you can save or cancel the change directly. You don't have anymore to edit the full form and have the save or cancel button for the full form. This can be done item by item now. So this is pretty cool. That's one of the big features in 12.x. So the next feature, so that's the fourth one, is something that came out of the Fasten research project. That's a European research project to which XWiki is participating to, along with OW2 and other partners. And out of this, we introduced the concept of an extension index. So basically, XWiki, you can install extensions in your wiki to add new features, and we have a lot of them. There are over more than 700 extensions. So extensions like, I don't know, a forum application, a blog application, or support for an LDAP authenticator, etc. So before we had this, whenever you were searching for extensions, it would actually query the XWiki.org server. This is where all the extension metadata is located. And you do a lot of queries and back and forth and display the information there. So that was not very efficient, but also you were not able to have interesting features like ability to show only compatible extensions. So what we did is we are now building an index of all the extensions that exist on xwiki.org. This is downloaded to your local instance, and thereafter, when you do searches, it's using the extension index to do the search and return results. So that's very fast because that's running in the same process. And we can now do complex stuff. And one of the first use cases is the ability to list only the compatible extensions, well, compatible with the version you have, the version of XWiki that you have. So that's interesting. We'll talk in the future section that there are other use cases that we want to implement thanks to this. So the next one is name strategies for pages. So a lot of users have asked us to provide this feature. Basically, the idea is that when you're creating a new page, you're giving it a name, and some users want to apply a different algorithm, like removing all the spaces in the name, so that it doesn't transform into a person 20 in the URL, which they find not nice for SEO purposes. Or this allows to remove the slash and backslash symbols, which are not supported by default on Tomcat, for example. So this is a default strategy. But basically, we've implemented name strategy in a generic way, and you can configure it with a lot of options. So that was for 12.x. Now let's move on to 13.x. That means since the beginning of this year. So we've introduced a big component called live data. We've been wanting to do this for years, and we're now doing it. We had the concept of live tables before, and it was about presenting data in table. And now now we're doing live data, which is about presenting large amount of data in various ways. So in a table, in a card layout mode, view, and more. So with a complete rewrite, and it's using Vue.js and the hood. And it has a lot of features like advanced filtering. You can filter on various columns with conditions, with and or conditions. You can do inline editing of the content of the cells by double-clicking on them, whereas before you had to navigate to the page holding the data and then edit the page, make the change, go back to the table. So that's much more convenient. And there's plenty more coming up. We'll see that in the future section. Global notification filters, that's because we have this powerful concept of notifications, and it's highly customizable, so any user can go to their profile page and very in fine-grained details configure how notifications should work for them with a lot of filtering, etc. What we were missing that we added was the ability to have a default global filters they're basically presets of filters for notification for all users. If the user doesn't override their filter preferences, then it is going to use the global ones. So this is very useful for admins who wants to set a default way for the wiki to work for notifications. And now that's a very important one. That's something that I consider to be an important feature. It's performance. So we've worked on that in 12.x and 13.x to improve it. So I mentioned notification feature that was really time consuming. It was using a lot of CPU and making the page render slowly. So we fixed that. We rewrote it completely based on the new store using Solr. I'm not going to enter the details, but that increased performance a lot for us. We also removed the WYSIWYG editor that we had at the bottom of the pages that was located in the comment section. We now have a comment button if you want to comment on the page, so this makes the page load faster since it doesn't have to load the WYSIWYG editor. We also have the in-place editing that I mentioned. That's again, it's preventing a page load when you do edit, so make it faster. The local extension index I mentioned prevents back and forth queries with the XWiki web server. And we had an asynchronous framework that we use to display different parts of the page when you rendered in view mode asynchronously, and we're using that more and more. For example, the alert notification menu at the top right, where you see the little bell and the number of notification, this is now computed and displayed asynchronously, whereas before it was part of the page view process. So it makes the page load a lot faster in general. And last but not least, we worked on security a lot in the past year. So we put a real policy in place for security with strict rules and well-defined rules. And we started creating our own CVEs and publishing them. So you see in the list I've listed, we've published 8 so far. We have a few in preparation, but we have a policy about this. For example, we release those only when we have fixed them in some release, and we also leave a little delay of some time for companies offering support on top of XWiki for them to have the time to contact their customers and upgrade their instances before we release the CV, so that their instances, especially the public ones, will have the time to be upgraded before they can be attacked, for example. With the information we release, and of course there's a lot more. I've just presented a few. I've done a query on our issue tracker, and actually we've implemented 78 new features, 231 improvements, and 683 bugs fixed since 12.0, so from 12.0 to 13.4. So that's a lot, and I cannot discuss all of those, but I've tried to pick some that were more high level and easy to understand. So that's it. We're quite proud of the work done, and we're looking forward for the rest of the work for this year. So thank you very much. This is all I have. Now, since I mentioned that this is a community-based development, I would very much appreciate your ideas. If you have ideas about if you're yourself users of XWiki, for example, and you have ideas of things that we should improve, please do contact us. There are various ways of doing this. You can go to the forum. We have a forum where you can post. We have an issue tracker. You can open issues there. We have a matrix chat, so you can discuss with us. We're very much interested in knowing about what you'd like to see. Thank you very much and enjoy XWiki.